50% of all games on Steam don't make money, and 92% don't make enough to become a full-time creator. But you have the bestest, newest, biggest idea in the world, but everyone's telling you not to make your dream game. Better yet, everyone's telling you to make small games instead. But why? What's the reasoning behind this, and is it even true? I am going to try to get to this answer, and I will take you along for the ride, step by step. We'll even talk about oceans at some point. But first, we need to talk about chance calculations. Think of flipping a coin. Every time you flip a coin, you have an approximate 50% chance that it's either heads or tails. I say approximate because in theory, it could also land on its side. I flip my coin, it's heads. Now I'm gonna flip my coin again. It has, again, a 50-50 chance to be heads or tails. However, because I just got heads, the chance calculation for it being heads again changes. So hitting the same 50% on each consecutive hit has another 50% chance. And you can get this tree all the way down into infinity, where the chances of getting multiple of the same in a row becomes less and less over time. Now, the reason this is important is because it also works the other way around. If on each consecutive attempt my chance to hit heads shrinks, that means my chance to hit tails actually grows. If 92% of games don't make enough money to become full-time creators, then 8% does. Now let's say you want to take 2 years to make your game. That's 24 months. In 24 months' time, you have an 8% chance that you will be able to become a full-time game developer. But I'm not sure if you can feel how low 8% actually is. And we can also test this. If you have 2 6-sided dice, please grab them and roll them now. If the combination of the 2 dice together equals 4, congratulations, you're a full-time game developer. If it didn't, then you will have to wait another 24 months to try again. I'm being generous with the full-time remark, because I'm calculating any game that made a revenue of $100,000 as a full-time developer. Now, if you take 2 years to complete your game and you get $100,000 in return, that's $50,000 of revenue per year. Then Steam wants its cut, tax wants its cut, and before you know it, you've only earned $30K a year. It's a living, I just don't know if it's the living you're actually setting out to have if you start game development. Most of you probably didn't get 4. And most of you will probably want to roll again as soon as possible. And if you did get 4, you would probably want a 4 again. If every 4 equals $100,000 in revenue, you want as many 4s as possible in the shortest amount of time. Going back to the chain, how high are the chances to get an 8% success rate? And this is also calculatable with the same tree. And on average, to be 90% certain of hitting an 8%, you would have to do 28 attempts. Now 28 times 2, because you're taking 2 years to make your game, is 56. Which is a problem, because most of us don't have 56 years left to become a full-time game developer. So now, you might be getting more and more aware of why people say make small games. Every 2-year attempt is an 8% chance of you actually being a full-time developer. The easiest metric to change is the amount of time you take to create your game. So making smaller games gives you a faster track record to getting more attempts at the 8%. But we can go further, because even though we can change the metric from 2 to 1 year to maybe half a year, there's more we can tweak. We don't need 90% certainty, because maybe we're willing to gamble it on the 50-50, right? We want a 50% chance to roll the 4. And something we can do to stack our 50% in our favor has to do with oceans. But again, I'll get to that in a bit. For a 50% chance to roll our 4 with our 2 dice, we need an approximate 9 attempts. Now, if we are able to make our timeline or our development time 6 months instead of the 2 years, now all of a sudden we only need 4.5 years to have a 50% chance to be a full-time game developer. But that's still a lot of time, especially if we're gambling 4.5 years on a 50-50. So how can we make this 50-50 as much in our favor as possible? And this is finally where oceans come in. There is a terminology in business called red versus blue oceans. Let's talk about a red ocean first. In theory, what a red ocean means is that there's an ocean with a shit ton of fish in it, and everyone knows it. Also all the sharks. So all the sharks go to that ocean and eat the fish. By eating the fish, the ocean becomes red. What does this mean for your game? Well, let's look at a genre called incremental. Currently, incremental is a deep red ocean. Everyone knows there's a lot of players that want to play incremental, so everyone's making incremental games. However, if you want to beat out the other sharks to eat the fish, you're gonna have to do something unique or something better. So what this means is you're either gonna have to be the bigger fish, or you're gonna have to be the faster fish. This is why you see incremental games that have a unique twist, or incremental games that bring something new beat out the other fish, because they're the bigger shark, whereas the 15,000 version of a Nodebuster is probably struggling to get the players that they were promised. But red oceans don't start as red oceans. Every red ocean was once a blue ocean, because a blue ocean was an ocean that no one knew fish existed in, and someone was the first shark to eat the fish there. But even these blue oceans are not just straight up crazy gambles. A lot of the blue oceans that exist today exist because something from either a different platform or a different genre was taken to our platform or genre. Let's take the biggest example in the room. It's this game called Crush the Castle. This was a Flash game back in the days that everyone freaking loved. And then there was this small little company called Rovio that saw Crush the Castle, saw the Apple iPhone come out, and were like, huh, maybe that game works very well on an iPhone. And they did a complete translation of Crush the Castle over to Apple making Angry Birds. I say translation because it's not just Crush the Castle on mobile. Nope, it's Crush the Castle with a different aesthetic, with a different control scheme, with a different setup in the way that the core loops work to be better for the audience that was on the phone. And there's more games like this out there. It also worked the other way around. There was this really obscure Korean title on mobile called Magic Survival. And there was a dude that saw this game and was like, huh, that could work on PC. And he created a little game called Vampire Survivors, which originally was actually a mobile game that was then translated over to PC, creating a new blue ocean. This ocean then, lo and behold, turned red as more and more of these survivor-like bullet heavens came out. Then eventually, some other dude came up and was like, what if Vampire Survivors was 3D? And Megabonk was created. And then Megabonk created a new blue ocean, or a semi-blue ocean, let's call it that, within the red ocean of 3D survival likes. So as you can see, all the innovation or all the blue oceans that exist also exist from previously either successful or interesting titles on other platforms, or sometimes even the same. Now this is important because that means that not all these ideas just come falling out of the sky or people are pulling out of their asses. There's actual examples in the industry or somewhere out there that people use to create these games that people want to play. Back when TV was a thing, there was the Discovery Channel, which had a shit ton of Ghostbuster stories. These people that would go into these haunted houses to try and get footage of ghosts. Now, we all saw this and no one ever saw a ghost. However, the tools that they used and the ways that they approached this and the excitement that was felt was very fun. And then came Phasmophobia, which was in theory a Discovery Channel episode, but you and your friends do it together with some cool little extra voice commands thrown in. So you don't have to get inspired per se from just other games, but other media can work as well. The one thing that is just very important is that most of these things already have an audience, but the audience just doesn't exist on the platform you're making it for them. Now, which one should you choose if you would go for either a blue or a red ocean? In theory, the red ocean is always a safer bet. If you want to stack your 50-50, you want to make something that you're sure about has an audience. Because you don't have the luxury to risk on a blue ocean. Yes, the gains are great, but so are the risks. For each Megabonk of Vampire Survivor that exists, 200 other titles failed to find a new blue ocean. Another thing that a red ocean allows you to do is train yourself. By entering a red ocean, you are challenging every other developer in that sea. What this means is that you are going to test your mettle against theirs. Are you actually better at making games than these other companies? And if you're not, if you only take 6 months to roll the 4, that's okay. You can try again. I just would love to see more people succeeding faster. I would love more people to take calculated risks, and I would love to see more games out there that people have thought about and that people want to play and that people can become full-time developers with. And this is why things like this matter. And if you're interested in this type of stuff, this type of content, don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and if you have any questions, put it in the comments. Thank you so much.